Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And welcome. This is an offering by the ISKCON Vaishnavi ministry for the devotees on Radhastami.
And we're so pleased because we are going to be talking to Her Grace Pranada Prabhu.
And I'm Rukmini. This is Radhastami.
Yes.
We're part of ISKCON Durban,
South Africa.
Yes, from South Africa. And we're so happy to get this opportunity to interview Her Grace Pranada Prabhu during Radhastami, because she's put forward so many things regarding Radhastami. You can tell us a little bit about Pranada Prabhu versus Dali.
Yeah, before we get into it, let's just formally honor Pranada Prabhu. Just again, Pranada Prabhu, such a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
I'm happy to be with both of you.
So Pranada Prabhu joined the Los Angeles temple to serve Prabhupada at the age of 17 in 1975. And Prabhupada accepted her as a disciple in 1976. She's performed numerous services, which I'm sure many people who are watching this are well aware of it, where the women in ISKCON are so indebted to Pranada Prabhu. So let's just take this opportunity to say thank you. And recently she's authored the Bhakti Trilogy, which is an award-winning set of books, which consist of Wise Love, Bhakti Shakti, and Prema Kirtan. And she offers one-on-one mentoring and facilitates group discussions currently. And I can with the most deepest gratitude say that I'm one of those recipients of that one-on-one mentoring, and so grateful to her. So thank you again for that. Pranada Prabhu lives in Alachua, Florida with her husband, the editor of Back to Godhead magazine, Nagaraj Prabhu.
Power.
Vaishnavi.
And the Bhakti Shakti book and the trilogy, I have to say, it comes reading through it, Pranada Prabhu, I can just see, and if those of you who haven't been exposed to it, get it, because it's very obvious when you look at it why you're the choice for this Radhastami interview, because such an lightning-like intelligence that brings the high philosophy of bhakti to new people in really easy to understand language to grip at. And it's so very obvious that Pranada Prabhu is invested in the individual person. So thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you, and I'm glad to see if we can make a little offering of seva to the Vaishnavis on this special day of Srimati Radharani's appearance day. And yeah, let me offer obeisances to my spiritual master and the Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpa Tribhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Para Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimhate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Vejatarine Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Pranada Prabhu, maybe we can start off with a conversation that we were having with you regarding how Jiva Goswami highlights the position and qualities of Srimati Radharani. And I think you had some thoughts of this, and maybe you can share it with us.
Yes, thank you. I have been studying the Srila Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas for about 5 or 6 years. And I was very moved when I came to the Krishna Sandarbha and how he ends that book. But before we get there, so there are 6 books of Jiva Goswami. They're very dense philosophy, establishing the tattva of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And the first book is the Tattva Sandarbha. Then you have the Bhagavat Sandarbha, the Paramatma Sandarbha. The 4th book is the Krishna Sandarbha, and that's the one I wanted to speak about. But after the Krishna Sandarbha, you have the Bhakti Sandarbha and the Priti Sandarbha. But what I find is interesting, now these are not small books, these are quite extensive books. And Jiva Goswami goes, I mean, they're phenomenal. He quotes hundreds of texts, okay? He establishes Srimad Bhagavatam as the Praman for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but he quotes hundreds of books, all the Puranas, many of the Upanishads, books from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Madhva Sampradaya, and even he quotes some impersonalists, and he spends a lot of time trying to defeat the impersonalists. But anyway, he has built up you have to understand that he's built up this huge, he's establishing the truth of the Bhagavatam, the position of the Bhagavatam, and then he moves into the reality of the of God in a generic way, and posits the personal aspect of God as supreme. Then in the next book, the Paramatma Sandarbha, he speaks about the Paramatma and who's in relationship with the Paramatma, the Jiva. So that book is all about Paramatma and Jiva. So now that he's established these tattvas of the different energies of the Supreme, where we find the foundation of understanding in the Bhagavatam, then he starts the Krishna Sandarbha. And the Krishna Sandarbha is specifically establishing Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan. It's not only Bhagavan, but it's Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan. Now, this is a very big book also, the Krishna Sandarbha. And there's what we're talking about, and what we're reaching here is the crescendo that happens at the end of the Krishna Sandarbha. So he's spent all this time, thousands of verses, to establish these different points. And then we get toward the end of Krishna Sandarbha. And as I'm reading, I'm not even sure where he's going with this, but he starts by explaining, well, in the Bhagavat Sandarbha, he explained how Bhagavan has energies, and that, and then in the Krishna Sandarbha, he's bringing it up again toward the end, and he's saying, so these two potencies are from the Swarup Shakti of Krishna. They are intrinsic to Krishna, and therefore they're worshipable by the Vaishnavas. And at this point in the Sandarbha, you are completely convinced that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. He is the highest manifestation of the absolute truth. So on this, now he's talking about the potencies, and he says, now these two potencies, one is in Mathura Dwarka, and one is in Vraja, where we find the supreme Madhurya. And these potencies, he said, are compared to the brilliance of the sun. They are pure illumination. And the Shaktis that are in Mathura and Dwarka are the queens. And they, as we've already established, but he goes into further saying, they are intrinsic to Krishna's essential being. They are part of him. And, they're, as we know, one in difference. We have a Chincha Beta Beta Tattva in our theology. So as he's describing the queens, he's describing the glory of their love for Krishna, that their love is all exceeding. And then he gives us a little overview. There are 16 Shaktis, which are the 16 main queens. And under each one of these 16 Shaktis, there's 1,000 divisions. And this makes 16,000 queens. It's sometimes the 16 Shaktis are compared to the movement of the moon, or from the dark moon to the bright moon, there are 16 phases. And so he brings in this idea that the 16 queens are, the primary queens are, have something to do with the phases of the moon. And then he describes how of these queens, 8 are chief, and they are Rukmini, Satyabhama, Kalindi, Bhadra, Mitravindra, Jambavati, Lakshmana, and Satya. So, and then he explains Rukmini, of these, from the 16,000, there are 8, and of the 8, Rukmini is chief. She's the most prominent. So she's known as Swayam Lakshmi in Mathura and Dwarka. And her form perfectly is suited for Swayam Bhagavan in Mathura Dwarka. So Swayam Lakshmi Rukmini, Swayam Bhagavan in Mathura and Dwarka. She is known as the existential ground of the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha. So now we're going to step back another bit and we're going to say, wait, so Rukmini is the basis of all the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha. So in other words, we've now left the material world of all the goddesses here. We've come to the spiritual world and all the Lakshmis and goddesses and their amazing position being the wife of Narayan and Vishnu. And who we come to Rukmini, she is the ground of all those Lakshmis. So who is Rukmini? Now, these queens, as we heard, they're embodied Swarup Shakti, and they're described as personified wisdom. They personify the potency by which we can know Krishna authentically. Now, then Jiva Goswami moves into a discussion, which we're very familiar with, that Mathura and Dwarka are just like astounding. They're unmatched dhams anywhere in the spiritual universe. You have Mathura, Dwarka, so high. And all the objects and entities in Vraja are completely superior. Entities and objects of Vraja are superior to everyone in Mathura and Vrindavan. And so they're considered super excellent. So we can imagine just the friends of Krishna, the desire trees, the Chintamani stones, everything, the bucolic of Vraja is many, many times greater than Mathura, Dwarka. And what do we hear? We hear this prayer. Where does it come from? The 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. After Brahma he's very bewildered because he sees Krishna as all the cowherd boys and cows that he had stolen, and all of those turn into Narayans and multiple universes, and then all of that is withdrawn, and then he sees Krishna there standing and his heads are spinning, and he starts getting a real feeling for who are these coward boys. And he says, Aho Bhagyam, Nanda Gopa Brajokasham, Yan Mitram Paramanandam, Purna Brahma Sanatanam. Who are these people that they have the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their intimate friend? They're intimate friends, and his heads are just can't contain it all. What he just saw as Krishna, the manifestations of all the Narayans in Vaikuntha, is this little boy holding in his left hand the rice. So then Jiva Goswami takes us to the Vraja Devis, and then he establishes, and just as the queens of Dwarka are the Swarup Shaktis of Krishna, so the Vraja Devis in Vrindavan are Swarup Shaktis. They are the status of Lakshmis, but they are superior to the Lakshmis. And as we heard, the queens are embodiments of vidya, of knowledge, illumination. The Vraja Devis are the highest culmination of wisdom. And what is that wisdom? It is love. Real wisdom is love. So they are embodiments of the highest wisdom in the form of supreme love. And their love is unique. It is constituted of a unique quality of prema rasa that is manifested to an exceptional degree and engenders in Krishna a corresponding state of exhilaration. And they are the very essence of the Haladini. So now Jiva Goswami he's going to refine the lens now a little bit more among the Vraja gopis. And he says, there are billions of gopis. Okay, there are billions of gopis. And among them, 108 are primary. And of those, there are 8 prominent. and of those there are two superior, and among all these gopis who are superior to the queens of Mathura and Dwarka and the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha, and are the topmost embodiment of Madhurya Prem, Radha is the essence of this love and is the original Adi Shakti, the original Shakti of Krishna. And the paramount excellence of prema reaches its zenith in Sri Radha. So you're getting this. We've heard this before, but it's important to like really think about this. What is it that who is it? So then Jiva says, so Radhika is the Swayam Lakshmi of Gokula. And he says, who can understand Srimati Radharani? He asked this question. And he said, the greatest beings in the universe, including Ananta Shesha, who, as we know, is omniscient and speaks, is able to speak such beautiful glorifications of all these personalities and tattvas. And Ananta Shesha says, who is she who is so extraordinarily astonishing by virtue of her nature, form, beauty, and qualities? He can't fathom who Radha is. And then in the Urdhvamanya Tantra, Shiva glorifies Radha in 12 prayers, very beautiful prayers. And toward the end, the second to the last one, he says, O goddess worshipped by Brahma, to whom countless millions of Vaishnavas bow. O goddess who gives blessings to Parvati, Sachi, and Saraswati. O goddess whose toenails are anointed with limitless opulences and mystic perfections, when will you mercifully glance upon me? The force of Radha's loving dealings are so permeated with rasa that all the gopis, now this is a heavy statement, let's focus on this for a second, what Jiva is saying here. The force of Radha's loving dealings are so permeated with rasa that all the gopis appear to be without purpose. This implies that the Shaktis and gopis, both of whom are abundantly endowed with beauty and other such attributes, serve no particular purpose for Krishna without Radha. Like, wrap your head around that. This is the words of Jiva Goswami. I'm not even paraphrasing. I'm now looking at some quotes here. Radha and Krishna are supreme. They exceed all. They astonish the whole cosmos by virtue of their attributes and leelas, which are not found anywhere else. Nowhere else. You find this nowhere else. We're now at the summit of existence, of reality. And Jiva writes, the ultimate limit of ontological consideration, which means sambandha, the ultimate limit of the truth to be disclosed is found exclusively in Sri Radha and Madhava. And now we come to the very last verse of the Krishna Sandarbha. And he's at the very end and he offers this extraordinary meditation and prayer, which has become very dear to me. It's like I've been through these 4 lengthy, dense philosophical volumes of the Sandarbhas. And the very last verse of the Krishna Sandarbha, he's been building up into this crescendo, this like, just this huge crescendo. And here we hear his love and longing as he exalts the divine couple. And I'm going to read it, even though I've memorized it, because I don't want to miss one word wrong. Let my heart be overpowered from all sides by the sweetness of Sri Radha and Madhava, who shine brilliantly by virtue of their golden and blackish complexions, whose dancing eyes form a pristine festival of delight, whose very selves are immersed in the mastery of a myriad of amorous arts, and who are supremely enraptured by the fragrance of the ambrosia of mutual love. Stunning of what verse that he wrote. Now, he says here, just before this verse, he says, I have written everything that I have written so far in all the Sandarbhas just to say this, just to establish this.
Wow. Four books to establish this point.
And then the other two are to establish bhakti and prema. It's the bhakti Sandarbha and priti Sandarbha. So after you are completely established in the tattva of the absolute truth and the nature of Swayam Bhagavan Krishna and Radha, then he starts coming out with what is bhakti, how to practice bhakti, how to achieve prema, how to achieve prema. So and now we have to understand something that the Goswamis also give us, that of the two, Radha and Krishna, it appears Sri Radha has the upper hand.
Really?
Or she controls Krishna by her all-competent, all-encompassing love. And here's a verse from the second verse of Radha Rasa Sudhanidhi, which is very beautiful prayers by Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur glorifying Srimati Radharani. They're stunning prayers. But this is the second verse. He says, obeisances to the direction that faces Sri Vrishabhanu's daughter. So just in her direction, just somehow in her direction, I'm paying obeisances to that direction. When the breeze coming from that direction playfully moves the edge of his garment, Lord Krishna, who cannot be attained even by the kings of the yogis, thinks that his life has now become a great success.
Oh. Wow.
This is the person that we desire to serve, from whom we urgently require blessings. How can we possibly approach her who is so exalted? How can we do this? How can we be accepted by her so that grand love for Krishna and her takes birth in our heart? Krishna himself is astonished by Radha's love. He desires to bring devotees to serve her. He feels that he can't serve her enough, so he wants to make devotees for Sri Radha. How does he accomplish that? Do you want to guess? He comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
He is in the mood of Radharani. He wants to bring to the world's attention Radhika's beauty, qualities, and love, because anyone who gets to know Radha will want to serve her. And he personally, he is Krishna, obviously, but he's filled with Radha's love and her generosity and her compassion. She's very, very tender-hearted. She's very soft when we hear about her qualities. She's very generous and compassionate, and he embodies that. And therefore, he gives prema freely. His whole life glorifies Radha. His entire life glorifies her, and his life attracts us to the excellence of her love, and especially important to us, shows us the way we can approach her, because he lived as a Vaishnava. That means he's modeling behavior for us. In other words, he showed the path for a sadhaka. He showed the way for us. And while showing the practice, he allows us to witness Radha's love in action and demonstrates the practice we can take to approach Srimati Radharani. And by embodying Radha's love for Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrates what actual love is. Something we don't have experience of yet, right? Talk about love of so many things, but we have no concept of this exalted love that Sri Radha possesses for Krishna. But by hearing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life and his teachings, we start to get a little understanding about the pure love and about Sri Radha who embodies the highest extent of that love. And then we have a little attraction for that, but it's still elusive to us, right? How could we achieve this love and therefore come to worship Srimati Radharani, come in her proximity? So I was thinking about this, and we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu primarily demonstrated two things that could draw us closer to Radha. He told us to cultivate feelings of separation from Radha and Krishna and to chant his holy names. So just let's talk a few words about the chanting of the holy names, and then we can talk about separation. So by his life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us that the most powerful process to awaken genuine feelings of love in our hearts is chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Radha and Krishna are present in those names. There they are, right there. We're with them, right when we chant them. The whole spiritual world is present in those names. The whole everything is there in the Maha Mantra that we have been mercifully given. Our prospect of achieving a spiritual body to serve them directly is in the holy names. And by chanting those names purely, we will be brought into their presence. Now, when you look at the name or when you hear the name, the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, you'll start noticing Radha's there. She's in the front of Krishna, she's in the back of Krishna, she's on all sides, she's dancing all over the place, she's enveloping her with his love. And so if we chant, now this is something interesting, think about this for your own japa. When we chant Krishna's names with attention, without laziness or indifference, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur teaches us, Radha becomes inclined to us. Why? Because she wants to hear her beloved's name glorified. So I'm saying, Krishna, Radha's listening, and she's like, oh, they're interested in my beloved. And when we chant Radha's name purely, Krishna's pleased and he says, oh, here's some ways that you can obtain Radha's service and blessings. I like this. I want to make devotees for Radha. So interesting. Chanting their names is the highest summit of seva. This is something that took me years to realize, that I kept thinking, oh, what active service should I do and how should I engage and do this and do that? It took me a long time to understand that actually the chanting of the holy name is the highest seva. Just by chanting their names, this is the highest seva. And Radha will take notice and she will decide to take us as an instrument to please her beloved. So Krishna wants to make us servants of Radha, and Radha wants to use us as instruments to serve her beloved. So you see, both these exalted personalities want us.
Oh.
They want us. Krishna, now this is interesting to think about. Krishna has unlimited capacity to enjoy, and Radha has unlimited capacity to fulfill his desires. Now think about that for a minute. She has an insatiable desire to use everything in his service and to find new ways to please him. Now, if she's given an opportunity for a new servant or a new instrument, then don't you think she's going to want to give that to Krishna? Naturally, she desires to use us. She will present us to Krishna so that we can offer him a type of loving service that is unique to us, which no one else can offer. And she knows that and she sees that. And Krishna, desiring to serve her, will give us service to Sri Radha. Okay, now let's bring this back to chanting. In other words, by chanting as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us, we are serving his desires to make us servants for Srimati Radharani. We are offering ourselves to be made as her servant. He so strongly desires to serve Radha and bring her more servants that he makes our path easy and gives us all assistance. By joyfully chanting the japa and the kirtan of their names, all our desires are fulfilled, and we become qualified to eternally serve Mahabhava Swarupini, the personification of the highest limit of love, who is a tender-hearted youth. And how did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say that we should chant? Feelingly. We should chant feeling separation from them. What is our prospect? What is our ideal? We should feel separated from that. We are separated from them. We're not able to serve them directly just yet. And although we're told not to desire liberation, Sanatana Goswami says, but still the devotee wants to see Radha and Krishna with his own eyes. We still want to serve them directly. And so if we attempt to reverse our separateness, then we're brought closer to them. And we can think about, well, how do we cultivate feelings of separation from, sorry, I hope you're not hearing that too much. How do we cultivate feelings of separation from them? Well, can you feel separation from someone that you don't know?
No.
You can't do it. You have to know them. And so how might we know them?
We can hear the background.
I can't turn it off, and it's my mother leaving a message. So
Sweet.
no way around it. Until she's quiet, we're going to hear this voice. Sorry. I should have taken the phone off the hook. She's done. Okay. So obviously by hearing about them, we develop a relationship with them, and by chanting their holy names and hearing about the vast ocean of their qualities, how they're the ultimate limit of beauty, how they're adored by unlimited numbers of highly qualified souls. Just think about that. These souls are so exalted, and they give themselves to Radha Krishna. And they're not only that, they're willing to give millions of their lives. They're willing to die millions of times to make them happy. I was thinking about we've just heard how Mahaprabhu has given us the holy names, and he's told us to chant in separation. And then what happens when we start actually acknowledging our position in separation from them, we start feeling that, then longing comes, the longing to be with them, the longing to serve them. And the separation thickens and intensifies. And by that, first of all, we start really feeling it. We start really feeling the absence of their presence. And that increases the longing. And it goes back like this. I'm feeling separation. I want to be with them. I'm feeling separation. I want to be with them. So to culture that, it's through the hearing and chanting. And of course, besides this chanting in separation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave us the Shikshashtaka to guide us in our path toward prema, toward love of Krishna. It's interesting because Bhakti, well, you know, the Shikshashtaka was presented by Rupa Goswami in the Pajavali, but they weren't, the verses weren't in any particular order. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took them, grabbed them. These are the verses by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he put them in an order. And then later, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained that the order of these verses is significant. The first verse is an encapsulation of the following 7 verses. And those verses correspond with the stages of developing prema, of sadhana bhakti. They correspond to Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Nartana Vritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Sakti, Bhava, Prema, each verse. Now, and that's a whole conversation in itself, but I wanted to bring attention to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's success. You know, we know he came because he wanted to fully experience and relish Radha's love for Krishna, and he wanted to understand the sweetnesses of Krishna that Radha experiences. And so we're told that this last verse of the Shikshashtaka proves that he was successful, right? Ashlishava padaratam panashtamam adarshana marma hatam karotuva vita tata va vidhatu lampato mat prananatas tu sa eva navara. So this is Srimati Radharani speaking. Let Krishna tightly embrace this maidservant who has fallen at his lotus feet. Let him trample me or break my heart by never being visible before me. He is a debauchee after all, and he can do whatever he likes, but still he alone and no one else is the worshipable Lord of my heart. So I heard recently, I'm going to, now we should have a little Leela, right? We've had all this tattva, it's a little heady, right? So I heard recently Govinda Maharaj, who is a very exalted Vaishnava, tells a Leela about when Radha spoke this verse. This verse, Ashlishava Padaratam Panashtaman, is spoken by Srimati Radharani originally. So Lord Chaitanya repeated it, but Srimati Radharani first spoke it. So he describes that Radha and her maidservants had beautifully decorated a kunja, and they were waiting for their beloved to come, and the appointed time passed. Have we heard this before? He's late.
Oh, yes, all the time.
He's always late. He's often late. I mean, he's not always late. She can forgive him, but he's late this time, and he's really late. And then she sends one of her messengers, one of her duties, to find out what's happening. And the duty comes across Shaiba from Chandravali's group. And Shaiba very proudly says, well, he's not there because he's with Chandravali. And the duty comes back to Srimati Radharani, and Radha is furious. She said, do not bring him, that rake, here. He may not come into this kunja. I don't want to see him. Don't bring him here. Pretty soon, Krishna comes to the kunja, and Lalita and Vishaka are now guarding the kunja on Radha's orders. And they said, go, you're not welcome here, you go. He said, please, please, I'm sorry, please. No, you go. So Krishna leaves, and he's sulking at the bank of the Yamuna, and Yogamaya Purnamasi sees him there, so she sends Vrinda Devi. Vrinda Devi comes to Krishna, and he explains the situation, and Vrinda says, well, I have an idea. You're going to have to lose the Tribhanga form. You can't have any of these curls, and you can't play the flute. That has to all go away. You need to take the dress of a sannyasi, but you're going to be a special kind of sannyasi praying for prema. And you need to sing a song. And so it's going to be this song of longing, this song of prema. So Krishna takes on the guise of a sannyasi, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, goes to the door of the kunj, singing. And Lalita and Vishaka said, where did you learn that? And he said, oh, from my guru. And they said, that's so beautiful. And they said, you know, our Swamini is in so much pain. Do you read palms? Maybe you could read her palm. And he said, oh yes, I read palms. And they said, okay, we'd like you to read our Swamini's palm. So they put 2 chairs and the sannyasi sit on one chair, and they brought Sri Radha out with her head covered. And this sannyasi says, you know, I read palms, but since I'm a sannyasi and I can't touch your palm, and I have to touch it to read it, then you're going to have to remove the veil. And they said, oh, no, no, no. Our Swamini never shows her face to any man, ever. And he said, no, I'm a sannyasi. I'm not interested. There's no problem. I just want to help you serve your Swamini. Really, it's no problem. And the only way I'm going to help you by reading her fortune is I need to read the lines on her forehead. So he's sitting in one chair, and they sit Radha in another chair, and they lift her veil, and their eyes meet, and Srimati Radharani man just goes immediately. But just before the sannyasi came, Radha, in her extreme pain, said this verse, Ashli Shiva Padaratam Panashtamam Darshanam Marma Hatam Karotuva Yata Tata Ba Vidhatu Lampato Pravanata Tu Saeva Napara. So a final thought. There is a very beautiful verse by a devotee in Chaitanya Lila called Vasu Ghosh, and some say this verse has been written by Narahari Sakar, but he writes, how indebted we are to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for revealing the truth of Radha and Krishna, and how indebted we are to the Goswamis, such as Sri Jiva Goswami, for giving us the philosophical background of this highest truth, thus moving our heart with real feeling and bringing us to the genuine desire to serve them. And here's this beautiful prayer from the Sabamala by Rupa Goswami, and then we can ask questions. Rupa Goswami writes, what great, insurmountable, unsurpassable loss. Oh, sorry. Here, this now, sorry, I put this in the wrong place. So what I'm reading right now is the verse by Vasu Ghosh. Sorry. What great, insurmountable, unsurpassable loss would we have faced in our life if Sri Gauranga had not appeared before us on this earth? How could we bear our unfulfilled, empty life without him? Who in this world would have described the super excellent, transcendental glory of Sri Radhika, who is the last limit of divine love and devotion for the Supreme Lord Krishna? Without his grace, who would be able to know the excellent devotional path that gives us entrance into the transcendental realm of the ambrosial ecstasy of Vrindavan? Who would be able to attain the mood and taste of the topmost devotional ecstasy of the young damsels of Braja? And now I come to the verse by Rupa Goswami in the Stavamala. O Sri Radha, I offer obeisance to you. You have a complexion of pure golden hue, possess a pair of doe-like restless eyes, have a face that conquers the beauty of millions of full moons, and dress in dark cloud-like garments. Your hair is decorated by the gopis using malika flowers, and your body is decorated with divine gems and ornaments. You are the guru. You are the guru of all the expert gopis, the receiver of the admiration of your followers, extremely dear to your confidants, and surrounded by your 8 primary sakhis, by a mere movement of the corners of your eyes, you make Lord Keshava restless, and the nectar of your delightful lips is the only source of life for the son of Nanda Maharaj. Having offered obeisances in these ways, I, a distressed soul belonging to you, beg you with sweet words while rolling on the bank of the Yamuna. Although I am unfit, an offender with a crooked mind, please bestow on me a fragment of the gift of service to you. This unhappy soul is not fit to be neglected by you, for you have a butter-soft heart that melts by the warmth of your compassion. Hare Krishna. Jai Radhe.
It's mind-blowing. It's another world.
It is another world that we're being invited to. It is another world. Hare Krishna.
Um, so many thoughts and questions. I'm trying to. Okay, I'll ask one first. So just on like a more technical note, I'm just coming out of Bhagavatam book club, and I'm thinking about how Sukadev Goswami doesn't even mention the name of Radha in Bhagavatam because of its height, and the nearness that he didn't want to express, and for many reasons that I also don't know. But then there's Jiva Goswami, who just builds upon builds upon builds, and then just opens up this whole thing. And I'm thinking, why? Why do some of the shastras like Bhagavatam, which is kind of like our bread and butter, just hide it, and some just open it up completely?
It's the mercy of the Goswamis. It's the mercy of the devotees that we're shown this. I mean, people just reading the Bhagavatam wouldn't understand it's described how actually Radha, let's look at the name of the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam is of Bhagavan, and Shri is the glory of Shri associated with Bhagavan. The whole book is about Radharani. We're only shown that by the Goswamis who received the knowledge from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And yes, Shukadev didn't speak her name out of great reverence for her, but there's another reason why he didn't speak her name. And for this reason, Parikshit Maharaj had actually had his son Janamajaya bring a group of kirtaniers to the site because he only had 7 days to live. And he knew that Shukadev Goswami could go into ecstasy and go into samadhi. And they had to bring him out quickly so that he could finish the Bhagavatam before Parikshit died. And there's a few places in the Bhagavatam where Shukadev loses consciousness. One of them is at the end of the Brahma Vimohan Leela. Beginning or the end of the Brahma Vimohan Leela. But also, this is one of the reasons why he didn't mention Radha's name. He was afraid that he would just go into ecstasy. So not only is Srimati Radharani very confidential, and she is revealed to us by Lord Chaitanya. Actually, there is in the history of deity worship, and I'm not an expert on this, but in the history of deity worship, the form of Srimati Radharani in a Murti form is more new. It's more new to the time of Lord Chaitanya, actually. So Sri Radha is coming to our attention by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis, and exactly why this one did it and that one didn't, who knows? But we have their kindness, and we have been given a glimpse into the glory of Srimati Radharani by the Goswamis. And of course, you know, one thing is so sweet. Prabhupada, I'm thinking of this one Radhastami lecture that Prabhupada gave. And it was just very simple. And he said, Srimati Radharani loves Krishna the most. It's very simple. Srimati Radharani loves Krishna the most.
Jiva Goswami takes 4 books to establish it in Shiv Prabhupada. Sweetly.
That's right. And that's one thing that's interesting in studying the Sandarbhas and the other books of the Goswamis is that Prabhupada's given us the essence, and you don't have to actually read all the Sandarbhas to know the tattva that Jiva Goswami gives. I mean, you get a lot more details with Jiva Goswami, but the essence of what is being taught we have with Srila Prabhupada. And it's very interesting to see that actually, to see how well he conveyed to us Gaudiya Vaishnava Vedanta and all aspects of it.
I think that it's when you take the essence for granted and you know, become too familiar with the essence, then going that deep really revives. Yeah.
Exactly. It wants us to, it helps us rethink about it, right? We know all the things that I just said. I mean, I didn't say anything like new or groundbreaking or something, but you know, to bring a light to it, remember what it is that we're doing.
There was something groundbreaking for me, like a lot of it groundbreaking, but like one thing I really didn't know was that every object in Vrindavan is higher than the queens in Mathura. Like, you know, I mean,
Well,
maybe
I mean, I don't know if we should, you know, like take this as like a tattva now, and we should, I think this might be some of Jiva Goswami's ecstasy, right?
Okay.
He's feeling, you know, he's feeling this. He's I don't know how many years it's taken him to write the Sandarbhas up to this point, but he's experiencing some kind of ecstasy, as that verse, the last verse of Krishna Sandarbha indicates.
Then I'm thinking that, like, from a personal point of view, it's you were mentioning about how it's like this whole crescendo, you're building up to Srimati Radharani and her love being so high, you know, and exalted. And I found that for myself personally, and then many different others, it's like, it seems like with Srimati Radharani, Krishna is Krishna who's there, like, you know, we know. But like with Srimati Radharani, there's a reverence and too high to reach, you know. So for the sadhaka like me, like, you know, how do we maintain respect but still move close?
Yeah.
Or closer?
I mean, just the practices that we've been given, it's not something that requires us to do something in particular, except for to very seriously take up the sadhana that's been given to us. There's a whole practice and a process, and there are you know, I just kind of briefly stated that in terms of chanting, the Shikshashtaka is giving us a lot of guidance, and if we're following the guidance of the Shikshashtaka, then we're going to see that it's a whole mood of our approach in sadhana and toward developing feeling for the Raj of Gopikas, Srimati Radharani, Krishna, the Gopas, Shoda, and Nanda. All, you know, one thing that B.R. Sridhar Maharaj says is that even the dust of Vrindavan is greater than us, because that is the Sarup Shakti, and we are to Tasta Shakti. We're different. We're a part of Krishna, but Tatastha Shakti is an individual Shakti, and Sarup Shakti is the internal energy of Krishna. Even the dust of Vrindavan is greater than us.
Like tattva. not just by sentiment, by tattva.
Right, so you bow, we bow, we smear that dust on our body, purify the sadhaka deha, and you know, I mean, just by hearing these things, what is meant to happen is that we're meant to become very serious about what we're doing, remember what we're doing, why we're doing it, what our ideal is, what our goal is, and therefore urgently take up the practice and not be lax in our approach. From wherever we are. It doesn't mean that we're going to be pure overnight. This is a process, it's a gradual process. It might take more than one life, but to really grab hold of the mercy that we've been given and to bring that firmly into our life in a way that is immovable, right? So how do we become more intimate? You become more intimate by the heart becoming purified, and then you're brought close, right? It's not that the manjaris, I mean, that I don't know how much they have reverence, but the main thing is that they have such deep love that they just treasure and value every aspect of Srimati Radharani. And they, like I said, they will give millions of their lives to make Srimati Radharani happy. Yashoda will give millions of her lives to make Krishna happy.
I didn't look at them. I'm going to say.
So I'm thinking also there's a few terms that you use that I was hoping that you could maybe just go a little bit more into and open up. And you mentioned that how and I can't remember the word for it, but it gave me the idea of aha, that's why wise love. You know, it was something you said about the highest love coming from wisdom or being based. Now I'm sort of recalling.
Okay, right. Yeah. Jiva Goswami describes how the Shaktis of Dwarka and Mathura are personifications of wisdom. And then he further elaborates on that when he talks about the Braj Gopis, and he says that they are the embodiments of wisdom as the most exalted form of love. So in other words, wisdom, the highest wisdom is love, right? The highest knowledge is love. Krishna says that in the Gita, that the most confidential secret, the most confidential knowledge is love of him.
Okay.
And so these Vrajagopis, they can reveal the knowledge by which we can approach Krishna with love.
Cool.
But that's not what inspired wise love, but
It sounded like
I'm glad that it reminded you of that in some way.
So, Pranada Prabhu, I know, well, I don't want to really talk about Bhakti Shakti, but quite a bit of Bhakti Shakti was establishing Srimati Radharani because of the misconception around her.
Right.
So, and just hearing you now, we can see how her position is so clearly explained, and there's such a rich sense of Shastra attached to it. So, where does the misconception come from? Is it like an innate cheating mentality? Where does it come from?
Well, I mean, for me, in writing Bhakti Shakti, I wrote the book for an outside audience. And I had seen in the, there's a global dialogue about the sacred feminine, the feminine divine, and there's a lot of talk about that. And when speaking about Eastern goddesses, mostly Durga is spoken about, and all of her various forms. So rarely is Srimati Radharani spoken about. And we have to look at historically what's happened here. Just like I said that even within the recent history of, say, 500 years, there weren't murtis. My understanding is there weren't murtis of Srimati Radharani. This is an addition through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. which is supported in Shastra, obviously, but it's newer to the world. And then only in the last 50, 60 years did knowledge of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which is where we have the theology of Radha, come to the Western shores. And what has come in to, mostly it's come in through the yoga and the asana communities, right, that have become popular and are hosting kirtans and using the word bhakti, even though they don't know what the word means. And so Srimati Radharani has entered, but we're just, as serious followers, we're just still learning to know who Srimati Radharani is. So what to speak of those who don't have exposure to the extent of the tattva of Srimati Radharani and Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So I wrote that book to be as a corrective and as a preemptive also, to clarify within the yoga and asana community or anyone else looking at bhakti, who is Sri Radha? Because people don't know. People just don't know. So I wrote for the outside audience. It wasn't so much like, almost like I felt like your question might be talking about what is our, as practitioners, misconception of Radha. So that really wasn't in my mind. I think that Prabhupada has given us clear understanding of Srimati Radharani, and of course we can deepen our understanding and our relationship always. But I didn't see it there. I saw it in the outside community, and one of the things that really disturbed me is I had been reading books in the Sacred Feminine, and kind of I was watching what was going on. And one book, well, I'm not going to mention the author or the book, but she had one chapter of Srimati Radharani, and it was very unbecoming, and it made me upset. It really made me upset, and I was like, we've got to do something. A follower of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, follower of Prabhupada, Prabhupada brought Radha to the West. So we need to make sure that there's a proper foundation to understand Radha. She should not be introduced by a non-bhakta. And not only that, but I felt that there was Srimati Radharani is the gem of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and she should be introduced as that gem. It's a very precious aspect of our theology, that the absolute truth is Radha and Krishna, male and female. And that's the whole of the absolute truth, the whole of reality. And I felt that we should take the opportunity to not only make sure she was established in a proper position, but that we would highlight her. She's very attractive. She's extremely attractive. She's our everything.
Yes, I loved when you said Radha has an unlimited capacity to serve and love Krishna. That's just, when you said it, it's just like that, because she's been serving him for millennia.
Well, forever, right? Eternal time. Yeah, I mean, just think about that. What does it mean to have something unlimitedly? It's inconceivable. The mind can't fathom these things, right? There's certain things the mind just cannot understand. And here she has unlimited love. It's inconceivable, the extent and the depth of her love. It's oceanic.
Unlimited capacity is just
for us with limited capacity.
Yeah.
Unlimited capacity is very attractive.
So thinking of those two particular aspects, the unlimited capacity and the unlimited ability to serve and love Krishna, how can we pray to Sri Radha for this Radhastami?
I really appreciate this last verse that I read from the Stavamala by Rupa Goswami. So he first glorifies Radha. And this is, let me see, do I note what verse it is? I don't know what verse it is in the Stavamala. Sorry about that. I could, yeah. But he glorifies Srimati Radharani. He has a beautiful description of Srimati Radharani. And then he comes and he hones in on this one very special aspect of Srimati Radharani, which is in the last, hold on, I'm going to read the last, I'll read this last bit so we can hear it again. So he hones in on this one beautiful aspect of Srimati Radharani, but first he falls down on the ground, paying obeisances. I, a distressed soul belonging to you, beg you with sweet words while rolling on the bank of the Yamuna. Although I am unfit and an offender with a crooked mind, please bestow on me a fragment of the gift of service to you. And this is the point to listen to. This unhappy soul is not fit to be neglected by you, for you have a butter soft heart that constantly melts by the warmth of your compassion. She's so soft-hearted that even as someone as fallen as me she shouldn't neglect me, because that's the nature of her heart, not to neglect anyone. And I was reading in the Ujjwala Nilamani, it was very sweet. There's one verse that says that it was a demonstration of the softness of Radha's heart. And she had seen that there was a little calf who was eating some straw, and one of the straws had like pricked the inside of its mouth and it had a little blood coming, and she was in so much distress. She was in her soft heart was just so much distressed seeing that in the little calf. This is her nature. She's very, very soft. Her heart is melting at all times. And because it's melting with compassion, then it's not so hard for us to be picked up by her.
Speaking of Bhakti Shakti, there was one thought that came up to my mind. I was reading it this week, and it's mentioned, I'm paraphrasing now, but it's in one of the acknowledgements by Satyaraj Prabhu. He mentions how a specific line, something to the effect that the worship of Srimati Radharani and reading about her will heal both those who may have experienced feminism in a destructive way, or abuse, for example, and those who may have perpetrated. I'm really using my own words here, but this is like what's the essence.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was like really like wow, because when I picked the book, I didn't expect to find that, and I was just like, oh, okay. How does that? Could you explain that a little bit?
How her mercy extends to everyone.
In that sort of dynamic, it was in that specific context, but I don't know if it's something you'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he's saying there is that coming in contact with the special features of Srimati Radharani, her beautiful qualities, her nature, the extent of her love, will heal all hearts. She has the power to heal all hearts. And so hearing about, and then how do we get to know her? Well, we're very clear. It's by hearing and chanting about Krishna, about Radha, that we get to know them. And the more that we hear and chant, the more that's revealed also. For instance, it's not just, I mean, it's wonderful to read the Bhakti Shastras of the Goswamis, especially some of the Lila Granthas. to get a feel for Srimati Radharani. But also just feeling will arise in the heart the more that we hear. It has everything to do with how much we're connecting with the qualities, names, forms, and pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And as we do, it's no longer so much intellectual. It's no longer just entering the mind. It's touching the heart, and feelings are coming. Actual spiritual feelings are developing, and we're actually starting to feel something for Srimati Radharani, however small or covered or mistaken it could be, or for Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for Lord Nityananda, for Prabhupada. Real spiritual emotions awaken. All we have to do is put ourselves in the position of hearing all the time. It's really simple.
So I wanted to say, while you were saying all of this, I was thinking, this is sounding simple, right? It sounds simple, but it's not. It's not simple.
I don't know the exact quote, but there's Prabhupada, Yamuna was talking to Prabhupada at one point about this, how he had said bhakti was so simple, Krishna consciousness was so simple. And Yamuna said, Prabhupada, I think you tricked us. And Prabhupada said, yes, I did. But the fact is that it is simple. It is simple. It's just our resistance and our conditioning that we still have a taste for material things, and so the taste for hearing and chanting about Krishna is obstructed. It's obstructed by the taste we have for the material world, and that's what's hard. That's what's hard. Rooting out that which is the conditioning we've had since Anadi, in that, since time without beginning. So that's what our job is. Now, the other way it is simple is that it is easy and it's quick. Bhakti is the easy yoga. It is the yoga that is grace. It's by grace. So it's not like you have to be a jnani where you have to have the mind for this, or you have to be able to perform very serious austerities, or you have to be able to do asanas and pranayam all day long and perfectly controlling the mind by your own strength and abilities. And it's all by grace. We're picked up by grace. You just have to want it.
It seems when you're speaking about hearing, Pranada Prabhu, that there is hearing and hearing, and
well, if you go on hearing, you start hearing.
Okay. Okay, that's hopeful. That's hopeful.
Yeah, all the hearing is here, and then hearing transformations start, and then you start really hearing, where you understand, things are revealed to you, emotions are felt. You're no longer just looking at a sentence. It's coming alive. It's becoming alive to you. It starts living. It's living. What we're dealing with is living. It's alive. And we just start waking up to it by hearing.
It's just a beautiful image. Oh, wow.
Krishna, Hare Hare. Radhe Radhe. Radhe Shyam. Hare Krishna.
I'm thinking about this point that you made, that it took you a long time to come to understand that chanting the names is the holy name, is the highest, is the summit of seva.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that, like when you read the Lilamrita, for example, there were seva was go out, distribute books, or seva, there was so much emphasis on outreach, like, and is it that is it that the service that we perform brings us to the realization that the holy name is the ultimate savior? What brought you to that realization? Maybe that's a better question to ask.
It's a good question. Well, I think a couple things. One is that the seva is actively engaged in our senses, and otherwise our senses would be engaged in material things. So our senses are being spiritualized by the seva, and our mind is being used by the seva. So it's very important in our restless state, before we have a genuine taste for hearing and chanting, to have that seva. What to speak of, this is the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's the Ishtadeva of our sampradaya, right? So our desire is to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's interests. He wants to make devotees for Radha. That's what we need to be doing, right? So there's that, and then, but it's really the chanting that it will show us that it's the highest seva. However, I do think it might be that it could also be a stage of life. I mean, I think for other people, it may not just be for a stage of life, but it might also be a stage of life where, you can't do any more active service, and you start understanding that the service that you can offer, which is just chanting, is the most important. You just start experiencing how it's the most important service. So I came to that through many years of being ill and unable to offer service, and being bedridden a lot of time just in bed. And I had so much shelter and so much assurance and assistance that I could barely sit up, but I could, the holy names, I could chant the holy names were present with me. And the solace of knowing that it was seva. It's a deep mental, it's a deep shift of the perspective. So as we're physically capable, I mean, Prabhupada said, I won't stop fighting until I can't fight. So that was Prabhupada's mood, and that's generally been the mood of devotees, is that I have capacity and I'm meant to give everything to Krishna, and this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. He wants this preaching. But at the same time, we can do a lot of outreach, and it's not doesn't have the same impact if we're not doing the in-reach, and we're not doing the sadhana ourselves, and realizing what is the real seva. Because unless we're realizing the seva is the chanting of the holy name, then the power of the active seva is not as strong as when you are taking shelter properly. So it's connected. And then I think also it's an experience that one has by taking up the name as the ultimate seva and realizing that. And it's a great solace when we do. Well, it will accompany us all the way to our dying moments, right? We don't have to be in good health to take the holy name. That's amazing. What process can you practice even while you're dying? It's amazing. You can be service while you're dying.
Yeah.
Great blessing, yeah. What do you think? I'm not sure what time it is or what we're supposed to.
I think we've been.
I'm not sure what time.
Are we wrapping it up here?
Yeah, I think so. Closing thoughts.
I have to say that I'm a little like starstruck by just the many facets of Srimati Radharani you've shared with us today. And you know, when you're a sadhaka and you don't think you're very far on your path, and you read about Sri Radha, or you hear about Sri Radha like we've been hearing today, and you see how high that is, but her highness does not make her not accessible. And I think that's a kind of beauty that's unmatched, to think that it doesn't matter how low I am.
Exactly.
She's
Exactly.
accessible.
Yeah. Everything's available to us right now.
And also that the means to assess her are within our reach, are within our natural practice.
Yeah.
If we're conscious of it.
Yeah.
That was really beautiful.
Yeah, as we're chanting, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is making me a servant of Sri Radha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants me to be a servant of Sri Radha.
And that can come even momentarily for the like run-of-the-mill practitioner. It's not like we're there at that place all the time.
Right, right. But just, a quick meditation on it. It's so beautiful. And I had spoken also about chanting, so that we're chanting Hare, and we want to chant Hare with so much love that Krishna says, oh, I'm interested in my Priya. And then we want to say Krishna in such a way that Radha goes, oh, they're interested in my beloved. And we're petitioning both of them, please accept me. Please let me chant the holy name purely. The Shuddha Nam, let me chant the Shuddha Nam. Please let me chant your beloved's name. Let me chant your Priya's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yeah, it's a powerful meditation in japa.
That was also a really beautiful point, because you often hear that Srimati Radharani will select the Vaishnava and think they're better than her to serve Krishna. I've never heard of Krishna selecting the Vaishnava so that they can serve Srimati Radharani. I think it's incumbent, but I haven't heard it said, That's really nice. It spins my head like Brahma's forehead spinning.
Yeah, that when you spoke about that, it made me think of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the gopis and Krishna are in competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of my favorite verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is when Krishna's Srimati Radharani wants to fly into the breeze of Krishna's fragrance. So when you said that about him feeling like that about her breeze,
his life is successful if just his cloth is touched by the breeze.
I offer my obeisances to the direction. That was just the poetry, the beauty in that. And that's why
it's got real feeling. These devotees have real. We're experiencing some, ras. They're allowing us to enter in a little bit of an understanding of the feeling, real feeling.
So when we hear people like, personalities like Srila Rupa Goswami talking about in Stavavali saying, I'm so fallen, we know he's not fallen. And like somehow the other we feel, but you're not fallen, you're not those things. But you pray like that.
That's because that's the feeling of a premika. Sanatana Goswami in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita describes that prema and danya go hand in hand. Humility increases prema, prema increases humility. They are constantly intertwined. So Rupa Goswami's statement is real, and therefore we're able to kind of put ourselves under that prayer, right? And say, I really am the fallen one. He might not be, but I really am. But I'm not fit to be neglected by you, whose butter soft heart constantly melts in the warmth of your compassion.
That's like, it just brings it all to such a sweet space, because it's like the greater the distance, the greater the qualification to approach her for that compassion, in some sense,
Yeah,
you know.
especially through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's a
Thank you
beautiful.
Thank you for our conversation. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words.
Wow. Thank you for opening up this Sandarbhas, which the word even sounds scary to me. Like, you know, I don't know if I have a word, you know, so thank you for diving into it and Jules, thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Jai Radhe, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.